All right, we are going to go ahead and get started with the next step of our donut plushies. The first thing we want to do after we've done our sketches is we're picking out which one we're going to work on. So I'm going to do this, let's call it a strawberry donut with some kind of fun turquoise frosting on it. So with that, the first thing I need to do is pick out my felt. So I picked out this pink felt. I could not find this color in the scraps for my frosting, so I changed it up a little bit, and I'm going to do some white felt for my frosting, which is completely fine. All right, so for your donut, you need one piece of felt, and we are going to use a CD as our donut size. So what I'm doing is I want you to go ahead and put that in the corner, and then we're going to fold it over because we need two, one for the front and one for the back. But I don't want to waste felt, so you can see after I cut this out, I'm going to have all this extra felt that we can save for someone else. Like someone else could use this pink for frosting or things like that. Now, if you picked like a chocolate donut or something like that, when you go to trace yours, you're going to use a piece of chalk. So you're going to trace around it with chalk, and then you can see that line. Now I have my strawberry donut here. So since my felt is so light, I'm going to use a pencil to trace it on the felt. Now when you're doing this, you don't want a super pointy one because it'll get caught in the fibers. So I got a little bit more dull. Then I'm just going to trace around my CD. So you really want to go over it and make sure that you can see that line. Let me see. Yep. Make it a little darker here. Now, what we're going to do so that both of our front and back of our donut matches, I've got this folded over, and I'm going to cut both pieces at the same time. Now, you're going to notice I've got out some scissors that we are only using with fabric. So these are my fabric scissors, and we do not want to use these to cut paper or anything else because fabric scissors need to stay very sharp to be able to cut fabric, even if it's just felt. So I've got my design laid out, so let's go ahead and get that cut. I'm gonna take my time here. Trying the best I can to follow my line. Make sure that the front and back stay lined up. That's actually the hardest part of this, is making your two circles match. All right, so I've got my donut cut out there. I've also got, you can see that now I have a really nice big scrap that someone can use for doing their frosting. So I'm going to cut off these little tiny pieces and throw those in the trash, and then keep this really nice big piece and put it in the scrap bin for someone else to use today because I don't need it. Now, the next step of our donut is our donut hole. Now you can see I did some donuts with holes, and then I did here more of a roll. Maybe it's jelly filled, I don't know. And so for this one, I'm not cutting a hole out of the middle. For this one, I am. So what you want to do, oops, my edge is a little wonky. Make sure, we're gonna see all these edges, so we want them to be cut as nice as we can. All right, so now I need to draw my circle. So I'm gonna, this is the side I drew on before, which we're gonna not be seeing in a little bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and draw the hole for my donut. And for this step, it's a little easier if you kind of do them one at a time. So what I wanna do is I'm gonna fold it in half. Hopefully it pretty symmetrical. Then I can cut out my donut hole, and that should work pretty well. Then what I like to do is match up my two pieces. I can draw that in there. This piece is pretty tiny, so I'm gonna put that in the recycling, or the trash, not the recycling. All right, fold it in half just like I did my first piece. And then hopefully, yay, they match up pretty well. All right, so now my next step is my frosting. This is actually the more difficult part. So I'm going to place my felt donut on top of where I'm going to put my frosting. I'm going to put it right up to the edge there. And then I'm just going to put a few little marks so I can see how big my donut is. And then in the middle, I'm drawing the donut hole because I'm going to have to cut it out again for my frosting. All right, so then I'm just going to draw out the shape of my frosting. I want my frosting to kind of be a free-form shape, nice and wobbly and drippy like real frosting is. Okay, so now we'll cut that out. Now, if I cut this out and it's a little bit too big, that's okay, because then I could just cut it a little bit smaller after I put it on my donut and see if I like the size. All right, kind of looks like a flower. All right, see how I made sure to do that in the corner, not right in the middle. We don't want to waste our felt. Okay, now I'm gonna fold that in half. Just cut out the hole. Same thing here, I can trim it up a little bit if it doesn't match perfectly. All right, so then we have back of our donut, front of our donut, and our frosting. All right, so maybe here, if that's too close to the edge, I might trim it a little bit, but it's your frosting. You can make as much or little of it as you would like. And then right before I sew, what I'm gonna do is, so this is the side I can see a little bit of pencil, so I'm gonna turn that over so it's on the inside of my donut and I can't see it. Same thing for this. So this is the side I drew on this side, so I'm gonna turn it over so I don't see any of that. Now we're going to go over some stitches and things like that. So I'm going to take the back of my donut, put it in my baggie or off to the side, and then we are going to go over how to sew our frosting onto our donut next.